Coming up on the Braves Sports Network, we have the Cedric Thomas program. We are live back in studio here on the beautiful campus of Alcorn State University. A beautiful day on the campus on this Monday following the long trip to Huntsville, Alabama A&M. A good one of the better games of the weekend in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. The Braves coming up short. We'll have to make the trip to Stark Vegas coming up this week. Mississippi State beat nationally ranked Arizona State in the final seconds. So trip to Starkville coming up. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about Alabama A&M. We'll get to it in 30 seconds here on the Braves Sports Network.
Would you like to connect?
Here, every journey is unique, but no one walks alone. At the Alcorn State University School of Business, we don't just teach business, we always empower visionaries who dare to reimagine it. From day one, you'll forge connections and develop the confidence to lead in a rapidly evolving world. Join a legacy of trailblazers who don't just respond to change, they drive it. Always ahead, always empowering, always Alcorn. Agriculture isn't just what we do, it's who we've always been. At Alcorn State University's College of
The Cedric Thomas program coming up here from Alcorn State University, back in studio. Coming up, we'll recap the Alabama A&M game. Man, a lot of offense, entertaining. The Braves kept going, kept fighting, kept clawing, and had a shot in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. We'll talk all about it with Braves head football coach Cedric Thomas. You can text a question, 601-301-2611. You can give us a call, 601-877-6595 on X, Tall Man Radio. We'll take a break here, 1 minute timeout. When we come back, we'll get it started, have all the highlights of this one. We'll be back after this on the Braves Sports Network.
2 hours ago.
Agriculture isn't just what we do, it's who we've always been. At Alcorn State University's College of Agriculture and Applied Sciences, we've always understood that feeding the world takes more than knowledge. It takes heart. Our rigorous programs blend time-honored wisdom with cutting-edge science. Here, you'll join generations of innovators who've always pushed boundaries while keeping their roots firmly planted in tradition. Always growing, always innovating, always Alcorn.
Founded in 1920, the Southwestern Athletic Conference has produced some of the most iconic names in sports. Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Alcorn State, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, Grambling State, Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State, Prairie View A&M, Southern, Texas Southern, and the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff have united to embark on a new era of greatness. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, building champions for life.
And we welcome you back to the beautiful campus of Alcorn State University, the Cedric Thomas program. Glad you can join us on the Braves Sports Network, 91.7 WPRL, WPRL.org, WMIS, WTYJ, 1240 AM, 97.7, Fayette Natchez, NatchezRadio.com, 90.1 WMPR in Jackson. We're live on Facebook, WPRL's Facebook Live page. I'm Charles Edmond. Cedric Tillman, our producers, with Jamario Brooks. Braves head football coach Cedric Thomas joining us here. Coach Thomas, how you doing, sir?
I'm blessed, Mr. Charles.
I tell you what, Coach, what an exciting game on Saturday. One of the more exciting games of the weekend in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Your team scratched and clawed. You know, they scored on 4 or 5 possessions, but despite all that, you had a couple of cracks at it in the final 5 minutes.
You know, the resolve of the young adults, we're excited about. We just can't put ourselves in that situation. We felt like, just from a communication standpoint on the back end, we just kind of, took us a minute to kind of get it going. But once they settled that second half, I thought they did a really good job of just, going back to the day-to-day work for us, practice and the game plan. And so we just can't start out that slow, but always excited the way they fought all the way down to the end and gave ourselves offensive and defensively a chance to win the football game.
You've been talking about it even throughout practice, the first part of camp. Starting out fast. You just want to start fast, and we didn't, but we gave ourselves a chance there.
Yeah, this time offensively, they started out fast, and defensively, man, we were still trying to find our bearings about us. Had some explosives early, and guys, eyes in the backfield, and just, wasn't sound. But once they got settled, I thought they really just kind of dug in, and we made some, individual adjustments. But just to see them fight, that was a hostile territory, being on the road, with a lot of new guys, and just for them to have the resolve to just give ourselves a chance, down the stretch says a lot about what this football team will look like, going forward.
Well, let's get into the highlights. Got a bunch of highlights to get into, so let's dig right into it, Coach. You won the toss and deferred to the second half. Is that the message throughout the course of this year? Every time we win the toss, you want to defer.
Yeah, we want to play defense. We think that's the staple of who we are and what we do. And so, any opportunity we get to go out there first. And then I want the ball in the second half. I just think, it's something about, in the ebbs or flow of the game when you got opportunity to get that ball, after you make the necessary adjustments.
All right, so let's get into it. Alabama A&M got the football to start at the 25-yard line. Got off the field, Coach, and on a 4th down and 5, a Robert Cole punt, Marianne Blakes with the return, but there was a loss of 4, fumble, and recovered by Caden Dixon. For those watching, you can see it right there. Now that right there, Coach, was that a horse collar? Was that a hit to the head? They got the football. We were looking for some yellow laundry right there.
Well, I wouldn't. I had just talked to the guys about the most important component of football is maintaining the football. So even if your head come off your body, maintain the possession. And plus, we had just went through that the week before. And, one thing I can say about the guys, it wasn't a gut punch from the sideline. Those guys was enthused and went out there. We didn't get to stop, but I didn't hear, any whining and complaining, about the turnover. And so we just trying to rid ourselves, of that. And, had a long talk with Omarion about making, necessary adjustments. But defensively, come make a big stop. And then we got to get right back and get on the field. And that just kind of throws everything, especially with a good football team and being on the road. We just can't make those critical errors.
Did you feel like there's, because me and Emmanuel Barnes were saying, where's the penalty? Did you feel like it was a hit to the head, a horse collar? What was there? Did you see was something there, you think?
No, I never paid any attention to it. All I saw was the ball on the ground. And, my instructions right before we went out was the name of the game is what? It's football. And the most, important thing is maintaining the possession. And so, we had a heart-to-heart. And, right now, Omarion know he can't go out there, starting it out. If he can't maintain the position of football. So you'll see a new punt return out there, and still got some faith in Omarion, but we can't keep rewarding you for bad behavior. We got to maintain that possession. Our offense scored on the first 2 possessions, so it's different being up 7-0 and being able to gain that 6-point or 7-point lead as opposed to having to tie the game. And I thought that part, as we really got the flow, and I thought that kind of hindered us a little bit.
All right, so Alabama A&M got the football to start. With 13:08 left and a couple of plays later on the 2nd down and 8, Cornelius Brown with a touchdown pass to Jordan Chambers-Smith for the touchdown. Talk about that play.
Yeah, one of our better defenders. You see, Kale, who had the pick 6 the week before, just kind of got greedy. He had good leverage right to the end and decided to undercut the throw at the last minute, and then that ball just sailed over his head. And I thought that just kind of, just snowballed for him not having one of his better games. And he's an older guy. He's one of the guys that got the extra junior college year. And we expect, him to maintain a high level of play and to lead some of these younger guys. And so he just made a bad read on that play.
All right, so A&M with the lead, just giving a team a short field. It is so tough. And Alabama A&M got the lead 7-0. But the Braves come right back, Coach. 12:21 left in the first quarter. Got the ball at the 35-yard line. Got it to the 2-yard line where it was a 1st and goal from the 2. And then Reggie Davis from 2 yards out, Coach.
Just excited about those guys getting off the mat just from a offensive production standpoint. Those guys do a really good job, and the kids work their tails off. And so just to see them take that opening drive and match that 7 points, that's what we expect. And I think, we'll get more of that as the year get rolling. But, kudos to those guys, believing in the system and at least, giving us opportunity to win this football game, even though we fell short late.
Yeah, you see Reggie Davis there getting it to the 2-yard line, and he scored. Talk about the style of running, Coach, when you have Jacorian Sewell and Reggie Davis. About the same, or what's the difference?
They kind of the same, but still, different more so than the personality. But running style, you see Sewell with the long speed, Reggie got long speed. He's on kickoff return, and so those guys got a lot of similarities.
So it was 7-7 in the first quarter. A&M 9:40 left in the first quarter. Got the football at the 25-yard line. On a 3rd down and 4 from their 31 out of no huddle, Cornelius Brown, boy, it was a slippery customer in terms of bringing him down. 34 yards up the middle that set him up. Then on a 3rd down and 3 from the 18, they scored as Cornelius Brown to Davion Walker.
We got a crossing route here, as you'll see, and we just had some communication issues with, Tavon and TJ. We in man coverage, and the corner, he makes a concept call where they playing an in and out bracket, and TJ don't step in, and then we just give up an easy 6. We just got to be smart and stay on our guys and make those guys earn it. And that was just one of those mishaps that we had the whole first half that just kind of kept nagging at us.
That 34-yard run kind of set it up for them. Was there talk about that particular play, that big run by Brown?
It was kind of different because you didn't see much film on him. You watched the A&M plays, from last year, and he didn't run much. He didn't have any kind of run game stuff, so we didn't expect to see him kind of moving around a little bit. But he kind of we had to make some adjustments. We had to put some spies on him the second half just to slow him down because he had a couple explosives in the run game that we didn't see, and so I thought they made the necessary adjustments after, and then I thought they coaches did a really good job of letting him run some of those footballs, not just design quarterback runs, but also scramble drill when he didn't have anyone to throw to.
So A&M, the touchdown off the fumble on the punt, and then the touchdown there, 14-7. But Coach, we come right back, got it at the 20-yard line, and 2 plays later, Jacorian Sewell to the house.
That O-line, I think those guys played really well, and that's what we expect out of them. They created some really good lanes, but to see his long speed, that's what he worked on, and that's what the scouts, when they came to see him, was really interested in. There's a lot of people can't make that run and leave everybody. I think he's an NFL back, and so we got to continue to let him lead us and give him those opportunities. But so just proud for him to stay in and finish this thing up with us, and just awesome kid. He was actually the captain for the game, and so to see him establish the fruits of his labor, it really says a lot.
As you see the replay there, a lot of purple and gold in the house on that far side, and the explosive down that sideline. He's got some really, really good speed. I mean, you don't see anyone in the frame.
Yeah, I think he got a chance to play on the next level, and Alcorn is infamous for really good running backs, and I think he's the next one up.
So with that, it was a 14-all game, 6:06 left in the first quarter. Coach, A&M got the football at the 23-yard line, a methodical drive. They converted a 3rd down and 7. They converted a 2nd down and 6, and they had a 1st and goal from the 7. Cornelius Brown, 7-yard touchdown run, one of 2 rushing touchdowns he had, Coach, and A&M comes right back.
Yeah, didn't do a good job, getting off the field. I think they was 8 for 15. It was way too high in the 3rd down margin. And this one of those design runs, we wasn't lined McCoy. Should have had a 9 technique on the edge to box that football and the safety to rock over. And so he did a good job out reading it, saw no one was on the end, and we just didn't have a hat for him.
So it was 21-14 at that point, and that capped off a 77-yard drive. Coach, there was a lot of long drives for touchdowns in this game, 80 yards, 70-plus. I think it was 5 70-plus yard drives by both teams in this game. So they had to earn it. There were some big plays there, but, methodically moving the ball down the field.
Yeah, I'm fine and excited about us doing it, but not teams against us. And defensively, we got to do a better job. We got to get off the field. 8 for 15 is way too high of a ratio completion, from a 3rd down standpoint. And so guys got to understand, 3rd down, we got to get off the field and do a good job of winning our one-on-ones so we can get our offense the ball because we see what they can do.
21-14 at the end of the first quarter. Coach, it was like a video game, back and forth, big plays on both sides, high-scoring first quarter.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I mean, by the time I got the tablet and making necessary corrections, with Coach Rowe and the defensive staff, I can't keep the defensive guys' attention because they, watching us score. And so I just thought once we settled down and understood, what the game plan entailed, they did a really good job of kind of just closing the gap that second half.
Well, we got the football with 2:43 left in the first. It took us into the second. So we go into the second quarter. We had a 3rd and 24 from Alabama A&M's 43-yard line. Tolbert's pass incomplete, intended for Jarvis Rush. There was a PI there, pass interference penalty that set us up at the 28. Then we got to a 4th down and 2, Coach. 4th and 2, the no huddle Reggie Davis on that 4th down and 2 play. Talk about that.
Yeah, so we wanted to be aggressive. Anytime we wanted to, points, I want to see that O-line, create a new line of scrimmage. And just looking at the game, 21-14, there's a lot of points being scored. Want to take some of that pressure off the defense and have offense to just be able to create extra first downs. And if this thing was going to be high scoring, and match it. And so they did a good job of getting underneath and making Reggie bounce it outside and, end up stopping us. And so, talk to Coach Watson and Coach Gales about the play call and also the blocking scheme of it, and assured me, they had some things that they had to fix on that particular play. But, I feel the O-line is really good, and we got opportunities to be able to get them. Then we'll be methodical when we can get them, and we'll also, have opportunities to take the points. But I felt like being on the road, giving up 21 that early. I want that offense to stay out there and try to close that gap to give us a chance down the stretch.
Kind of like matching them point for point. You want to match a touchdown with a touchdown.
Yeah, especially when they've scored the first 3 drives. If we got some stops in between, then I'll take that 3, and play the analytics. But down 14, you're sitting there saying, you might not be able to catch up. Just from the standpoint of how the defense was playing early.
So A&M took over at the 22-yard line with 10:46 left in the second quarter. They converted a 1st and 10 from the 49. It was a big play there. 43 yards, Coach. Frank Pierre with a 43-yard catch that got the football to the Braves' 8-yard line.
Yeah, we was in man coverage, in the corner, eyes were bad. They ran outside zone, RPO, and just didn't get out his pedal and turn. And so, just big play that they hit, all really just on us. We got to do a better job of keeping eyes on our keys, staying above the cut on some of the route concepts and giving ourselves a chance to get that football down. And so we knew the game was going to be one-on-one to the boundary, to the single receiver. And, we had to move T. Haney over there to kind of close some of that thing off. But some of the guys, just didn't make those plays at the time we needed them the most.
Was a 2nd and goal from the 8 after that big play, and then Cornelius Brown up the middle for 8 yards, and now A&M was once a tie game. They have a 14-point lead.
Yeah, once again, we got him, dead to right. You see one of our leaders, Jaquez do come, put hands on him, slide off of him and miss him, and then he big quarterback, make guys miss, and so we just didn't bring them to the turf. And so our leaders, got to do a good job, not only them, but just everybody. You see 11 come through. You got to make that play. You got to get them down to the turf. And, there's some other things that went on, from a schematic standpoint that didn't give us opportunity to be successful.
So it was 28-14 at that point, 8:14 left in the first half. We fast forward to 3:55 left, Cedric Thomas, 1st and 10 from our own 25-yard line. We were faced with a 3rd and 6 from Alabama A&M 17 as we were able to move the football. Some illegal use of the hands for Alabama A&M, some penalties that kind of helped us on that drive. We got in the red zone, 3rd and 6 from A&M 17. Jacorian Sewell from 5 yards, a loss of 5, and that made it 4th down and 11. And then Wilcox 40-yard field goal. Did that change the thinking there? Instead of that penalty, if there was no penalty, if instead of maybe 4th and 11, 4th and 2, you might have thought about it again?
Yeah, we down 14. Tough road, atmosphere. We just felt like we had to keep up, from a scoring standpoint. And so when the penalty happened, of course, it was a no-brainer. But I definitely, would have been a different thought process depending on if it was 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 or less.
So it was 4th and 11, but we got the points right there late in the first half.
Yeah, and I think he made one and missed one. We like Grandin. When points on the board, we're sure and feel like he got an opportunity to do it. And so, that's an example, just right down the middle, operation, clean, smooth. And, I know we got some points, when we get inside that red zone and really when we close to 50 because of his leg strength.
28-17 at halftime, Coach. Some opportunities there. Spot him an early touchdown. You were kind of a riverboat gambler and going for it on 4th down. But, hey, high-scoring first half kind of right there in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, the one that kind of hurt me the most is the fumble on punt. I just think that outcome is different that first half. If we get that ball and score and go up 7-0 as opposed to, being down 7-0. And so that's a part of the game. I thought the guys, fought tooth and nail up until. And so, to get those points, I think, that really helped us going into half, knowing that, hey, we had opportunity to score down there, and we took the points, the second time, but now we can just close the gap.
So it's 28-17 at halftime. We'll take a break right here. We got a couple of texts coming in, and we'll get to a lot of questions, of course. We'll look ahead to Mississippi State. And some news on the transfer portal front that we'll talk about with head coach Cedric Thomas. We'll take a timeout here. We'll be right back in 60 seconds here on the Braves Sports Network.
Hi, I'm Samuel L. Jackson. When the U.S.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
All right, we welcome you back to the Cedric Thomas program. Glad you can join us here on the Braves Sports Network. All right, Coach, let's get to the third quarter. We got the football to start at the 22-yard line. We're behind the chains. We had a holding penalty on a 2nd and 8 that made it 2nd and 13, and then we had to punt right there. I know that's not what you wanted to see to come out of the locker room.
Yeah, we wanted to get a quick start. That's why we deferred. And so we wanted to get out and see if we can at least change the field over and get a score. But we also knew we made some necessary adjustments on both sides of the ball to try to get that score down.
Well, what was the biggest adjustments that you had to make coming out of the locker room?
We knew the game. We saw some different pitches. It's different. We only had really one film of Arkansas versus, them. And then you're looking at the old Miles film, and the personnel is different. You're seeing something from a concept standpoint, but it's really different. They had more quarterback run game that they normally had at Miles. So by the time we, kind of just broke all that down and just say, hey, look, we just got to play the game as such to close off some of those throwing lanes on the outside receivers. That was some of the things that we did. And it worked. We just got to find that earlier, before we run out of time.
What was the mood in the locker room at halftime?
The good thing about the guys, they were steadfast on. They understood why we was in the situation. It wasn't no, disappointment from offense or defense or even the kicking game. Those guys was understanding, hey, this is the situation we in. We know why we in it. Here's how we get ourselves out. And so when you got a good team like that, they may be young and experienced from a playing standpoint, but just also the mentality, very mature, and understand, they're gonna fight to the end. And so it wasn't no doubt, in my mind coming out that second half, we was gonna have opportunity to right some of those wrongs.
Even though the penalty set us back on the first drive, we had to punt, and A&M got the football at the 31-yard line, and they scored on that first drive. Coach Abner with a touchdown on a 3rd down and 1 to go up 35-17, and that was a 69-yard drive.
Yeah, just the communication, kind of failed us at the end. You're gonna see, down there we got a guy that's wide open, and I'm so glad now, we have I think the rep from Coach Karma being tomorrow, we'll have the player coach communication piece, because that would have been a situation where we could have clearly fixed if we talking to the linebacker and just letting them know. But that thing got loud. Our band they jamming. It was good to see them down. So I appreciate whoever got them down for the support. That was awesome, and also the fans but also A&M. That thing got loud and on that end, and it's only so far we can get to on the sideline to try to make that adjustment from a signal standpoint. And so we just left a guy wide open, which is uncharacteristic of us, but we'll definitely get that fixed.
So it was 35-17 with 9:37 left in the third quarter, and so the Braves came back. Coach, we only got it at the 49-yard line on a 2nd down and 9. Reggie Davis for 20 yards and a touchdown that kind of set it up, and on a 2nd down and 9 from the 20. Reggie Davis from 20 capping off a short drive.
Yeah, defense got to stop, gave the ball to the offense in really good field position, off a really good return. And so, just good to see Reggie, explode through some tackles and, get that ball in the box for us. And so those guys fought tooth and nail, man. So I'm excited about those guys and really seeing the success that they had.
Well, Reggie Davis with a 31-yard return and then unnecessary roughness on the back end of that, so that added to the better field position. We got it at the 49, A&M's 49. It was a short drive, and we capitalized 35-24 with 7:43 left in the third quarter. So, Coach, we had a situation in the game, and we'll talk about it in terms of your timeouts. Obviously we didn't have any at the end, but you had a situation where we were charged a timeout for a player going down for injury after the play. Explain that.
So it's a new rule, Charles, that just got implemented this year,
right?
And it's supposed to be to stop. It really originated from defenses, falling down and keeping offense from going fast. That's really where it originated. Now some offenses did it, but mostly defensive guys, we kind of use that to our advantage. So now the rule is, anyone that's injured must be down before they spot the ball. And so this case was unique because when does a kid, if he start cramping after the ball spotted, if we worried about player safety, so you want this kid to still stay out there. So he just so happened to start cramping, once the ball was spotted. And so, it was beneficial for him to be able to just, he got to go down. He's cramping. And if anybody know who played, if you having major cramps, then you're really at a detriment to be out there in any capacity. And so Jay, he sat down. He was not aware of the ball being spotted. We're just saying, hey, from a coaching standpoint, hey, next time just come on off the field, by yourself. Don't go down, come off, and then we'll make the necessary substitution. So we was charged with that timeout. I talked to the refs, but that's just a new rule that was implemented this year.
What did he tell you?
The ref?
Yeah,
coach, he went down after the ball was spotted. And I'm like, well, he's cramping. He didn't start cramping until the play was over. Offensively, we don't gain anything by sitting on the ground. And so they just said, hey, coach, it's just a new rule. We got to enforce it. It came from up top. And so we was charged at timeout.
That was, and as we were making this charge in the fourth quarter, I'm just thinking, man, we just had another timeout there. I mean,
yeah,
who knows?
And that's why I didn't call timeout. On the touchdown play on 3rd and 1. I really want to, say those, down the stretch. I give them away the first half, but I want to carry them things as long as I can in the second half. But that new rule affected not just me, but everybody. And that's a coaching and teaching moment. And so we just told the young man, which is unfortunate because, he can't time when he's going to cramp. But, hey, you just got to stay out there and limp through the play, or you got to just come off. But you can't lay down no more.
So even if you feel it, but when you're cramping, it's just so instantaneous.
Yeah, and you don't know when the ball's spotted. So it's just best to come on off the football field.
So that is a teachable moment. So A&M got a touchdown, 35-24, Coach, 2nd down and 9. It was 35-24 at that point, 7:43 left. And then, we needed a turnover. We needed something to happen defensively. On the no-huddle, Cornelius Brown underneath to Abner, and it was a fumble recovered by Jaquez Dew at the 48-yard line.
Those guys, man, they just, they play hard. They play to the end. I'm so proud of them. And we're going to be a really good defense. We got to clean some things up, of course, but there's a lot of new faces, in that building. But just see those guys, come up with timely turnovers, even the week before. Those guys are really understanding, what we want and how we want it. So for them to do that and get that turnover, I really thought things was turning in the right direction.
Yeah, because I was waiting for a defensive turnover at some point. Offensively, we're kind of humming starts and stops, but we were doing pretty well. Like, it's time for our defense. We had the pick 6 against Northwestern State. I was waiting for something to happen defensively, something positive, and that happened there.
Yeah, it really did. And that was just a good moment, to get that fumble and the guys that created. So we was excited about that play.
All right, so with that turnover, we got the football with 6:40 left in the third quarter at our own 48. We had a 4th and 5 from A&M's 35-yard line. You took a timeout there as well, but then a 52-yard field goal by Wilcox wide right.
Yeah, we knew he had the room, and then he had the leg. I just thought if we could have stole that extra possession just to get any points out of it, would have been really, really been awesome. We wanted the touchdown, but we know he got the room for it, and that thing just kind of corralled to the right, but unfortunate situation.
So it's 35-24, Coach. As we wind down the third quarter, we got the football with 3:07 left in the third quarter. On a 2nd down and 17, Amarian Blakes with a catch, and that took us into the fourth quarter. So another long drive, Coach. We started the fourth on a 3rd down and 8 from our 37-yard line, and we moved the football once again, 3rd and 5 from A&M's 18, and Tolbert to Jarvis Rush for the touchdown.
Yeah, we've been waiting on that connection, pretty much all summer, and also in the spring, and so we had one last week that he dropped and it kind of ricocheted off him that they got an interception off of. So it was just good to see him maintain it all the way through the catch, and so that was good. I thought that was a spark and a shot in the leg for us, and so we just wanted to close this thing out.
So we converted a 4th down. We converted 2 third downs on that drive, Coach.
Yeah, we're going to be aggressive. I feel like we got the personnel over there to do it. I trust those guys and what they're doing, and also the players. They understand the mentality. And so if we got opportunities to be, to put guys away or to have opportunities to close leads, we're going to do it.
35-31 in the fourth quarter. So all the back and forth, despite everything, here we are in position in the last 10 minutes of the game?
You know, for us, we excited defensively. You know, those guys, we made some necessary adjustments. We got some stops, as you see. And so we just felt like, you know, we kind of had them where we wanted to, and wanted to give it to the offense as many times as we could, you know, so they can just kind of close their lead and not take the lead.
So A&M got the football with 10.5 minutes left at their 25-yard line, and they were faced with a 4th down and 4, and they punted. 3rd and 4, Coach. On that 3rd and 4, Brown incomplete to Chambers Smith, so we got off the field right there.
Yeah, you know, we did a better job the second half making those, like I said, those adjustments. But also the guys just played, you know, more free and not to get beat deep. I heard too much of that on Sunday, and you can't play scared. You know, this game is not that way, and so I thought they just kind of let it loose that second half, and you kind of seen it indicative of their play in the second half.
Well, they did have some time possession drives in which they took time off the clock. They got the football with 10.5 minutes left. We get the football with 6:50 left. So we got it at that point at the 20-yard line, and we had to punt right there, Coach. So if there was an opportunity, you're down 4. That's one opportunity that we had late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's what, you know, them guys in the meeting room, you know, they ain't excited about this game at all because they just felt like they did leave some meat on the bone in those last 2 drives. And so that's why I love the staff. I love the way they work, and it's just the mindset. You know, they could have easily been satisfied with 31 points, but losing for us still sucked. And they just felt like, you know, they had opportunity to close it out no matter how bad the defense played. And those guys understand, you know, it's defense. And, you know, so to see them, you know, kind of knowing that, hey, look, Coach, man, we left a couple plays out there. You know, I know those guys going to work, and they're going to rectify those situations. But that was the biggest things for them, those last 2 possessions, that they was just, you know, they wasn't satisfied with.
All right, so A&M got the football with 5:55 left, Coach, and they got it at their 42. We got off the field right there. Had opportunity to take time off the clock, but we got off the field.
Yeah, you know, I thought Coach Rowe and the staff, you know, made some really good adjustments, and you can see consistently, you know, now we're getting the ball back to the offense. We just, like I said earlier, we just can't start off slow versus these offense, especially with a quarterback like, you know, Cornelius Brown, you know, Division I transfer, been to a lot of schools, played a lot of football, and I thought once they kind of just made them necessary adjustments at halftime, we kind of slowed that thing down a bit.
We got it at 3:48 in the fourth quarter. Got it at our 19. And you know what I was thinking? The 4-minute offense. This is what you practice. Spot the ball. You got the stopwatch. Let's go. 3:48 left. You got, 2 timeouts left. And actually one timeout. One timeout left. Yep. Let's spot it. You got 1 timeout. 3:48 left. You got it at the 19. I think I remember in one practice you had it just that. So walk us through that drive, Coach. 1st and 10 from the 19, and then 2nd and 3, 3rd and 3, and then 4th and 6. They had to go for it from our own 23-yard line right there.
Yeah, the biggest thing was, like you said earlier, just having that one timeout. You're sitting there saying, hey, look, everything now is 4-down territory, you know, which if we got 2, even with the 2-minute, you know, we might have punted it, turned the field over, you know, and got the ball back. But just having one timeout, you know, on the headset, I'm telling the guys, hey, look, it's all or nothing right here. We started out well, but I think it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, you know, and we got 2 downs to get 3 yards, and to not do that, you know, that's what they kind of kicking themselves, you know, in the tail about, and they understand, you know, the points was good, but they just felt like, you know, they kind of left something out there, and so that was disheartening, you know, the way we finished it, but proud of the way them guys fought. You know, we got to get stops on defense. At the end of the day, 31 points should be enough for us to win, you know, in this league, you know, and take away the turnover. We clean that up on the punt return aspect, then we're going to be right where we need to be. And so those guys are not satisfied by a long shot. Those guys are working their tails off. The kids understand it, and they're going to come out and work. And so we just got to right these small wrongs. Just play complementary football. You know, defense can't give up explosive nor 41 points. And special team aspect, you know, at least got to maintain a possession. And we'll find out, you know, where we need to be, you know, coming down the stretch.
On that 3rd down and 3 play, Coach, in which Reggie Davis lost 3, so it was 4th down and 6. You had to go for it and didn't get it. Just talk about on that 3rd down and 3 play.
Yeah, so it was the back, you know, should have ticked to the other side, and we was going to run inside zone toward the field, but, you know, didn't get it, so the offensive line is blocking outside zone to the left, but the players actually ran, they're blocking outside zone to the left, but the back should have been on the left going to the right. It was kind of like a little cross blocking scheme, opposite zone play. And so just didn't get the communication. The line goes one way, and if you can see, the penetration just kind of caught Reggie. Reggie normally runs through them on tackles, but it was 2 or 3 of them. I think it was a 3 technique in the shade, kind of double them, and the blocking scheme was all off. And so that just kind of, put that, that situation, in a very, very detrimental spot, being 4th and 6 instead of 4th and 2.
Yeah, you had to punt. You had the 2-minute timeout plus another timeout there. So A&M got the football at the 23-yard line. Of course, we didn't get it on 4th down, so they had it deep. And it's just that just makes it tough in that situation. 1 timeout, the 2-minute timeout, just trying to do anything to keep it within range, and then they score. They score the football there late. Yeah,
we the guys fought tooth and nail. Just wish we had at least one more timeout, because that situation could have been a little different. And so we trying to pressure them and get that ball down to the turf. And so it looked good on the scoreboard for them, and those guys did a good job. But if I could have had at least one more of those timeouts, I think we could have been in a better situation.
Yeah, 41-31 at that point. They tried to go for 2. Interesting right there late in the game. That was interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm just more so worried about mine and for them guys to stand up, because they could have easily shut it down, being down 10, and just letting them run in, But you see the resolve and you see the fight. Those guys going to play. They're going to play tough. Now we just got to have the mental resolve when we put the game plan in, to be able to go out and do that for 4 quarters and compete, and not just play a half of football.
41-31, the final score. We'll go inside the numbers, take your questions and comments, and we'll look ahead to Mississippi State, team that beat nationally ranked Arizona State over the weekend. Fans rushed the field, tore down the goalposts, took the goalpost pieces of it out the stadium. Jeff Libby, who was highly ranked as one of the better offensive coordinators in the country, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, so they can put up some points. So we'll have to match it as well, and we'll talk about that coming up at 5 o'clock kickoff there in Starkville. So we'll take a break here. We'll go inside the numbers because some injuries to talk about. We'll get to all of that after this timeout here on the Braves Sports Network.
Founded in 1920, the Southwestern Athletic Conference has produced some of the most iconic names in sports. Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Alcorn State, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, Grambling State, Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State, Prairie View A&M, Southern, Texas Southern, and the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff have united to embark on a new era of greatness. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, building champions for life.
Can I get the now bar, please?
$1.
Have a good one.
Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure.
$1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
All right, we'll welcome you back to the Cedric Thomas program as we recap the Alabama A&M game. Coach, you talked about it. The sounds of dynamite was there. A lot of purple and gold on that other side.
Yeah, that's awesome. The atmosphere was amazing, so shout out to everybody that always come and support these young brothers. But it was just good to see the band, cheerleaders, and SGA and that whole support staff. We really appreciate it, and that's what kind of, makes it feel just – it's just gut-wrenching because, got so many people that's invested and want to see you do well. You just want to win for so many people that really care, that actually show up, not just talking about it, but actually, via their actions. And so the guys, they understand it, and they talk about it. And so we're going to get this thing going in the right direction. But it was really good to see that atmosphere with that purple and gold support.
A lot of great turnout. And then Mississippi State coming up. I'm sure a number of folks from up north Mississippi will get a chance to check out the Braves. All right, let's look at the numbers, Coach. 379 yards of total offense. Man, the struggles against Northwestern State, and for us to go tit for tat in the first half, finish with over 30 points, 379 yards of total offense. how would you grade and assess the offensive performance?
Yeah, I thought it was a C plus. Those guys, they understand. But when I go talk to them, Mr. Charles, they still, talking about the last 2 drives. They don't look at the numerical, just far as what's high and what's low. The objective is to win, and we're not no shape, form, or fashion, satisfied with more victories. And so they knew they kind of let one slip away the first week, and even this week, they're still not satisfied. But just knowing there's some bright spots for this thing to kind of go when we get into this conference play, and even this week, we're excited about the growth. So I thought those guys, improved, but that's what we've been seeing all fall camp and also in the spring.
Last year, we averaged 5 yards per carry running the football, 5 on the nose. The other night, 5.6 yards. Let's start with the running game, Coach. Ja'Cory Sewell had the 80-yard run. He finished with 12 carries for 115 net yards. We finished with a $186. How would you grade the running game?
A plus. That's who we are. That's who we are. We got to get the one on 4th down. Talk to Reggie. He can't jump cut that ball on the edge. He got to stick that ball inside. And get those 1 or 2 yards. And run behind his pass. But I'm just excited about those guys and how they progress and how they just work well together. And also that offensive line of creating a new line of scrimmage. So we know that's who we are. And we just got to continue to do it and find ways to get those guys the ball.
Jalen Tolbert, 23 of 33 for 168 yards. Grade his performance.
I thought he played a whole lot better. No interceptions, which was a plus. Had 1 sack that kind of took us out of field goal range, but he's shown what he can do. Just got to be consistent. I thought the letter grade wouldn't do him any justice from that standpoint because we judge quarterbacks on wins and losses, and so we didn't win. However, his performance, was what we expected. We know he can play and command the offense. Still got a lot of work to do, but we know we can win with Jalen at quarterback.
And from the receiving category, 23 receptions for 168 yards, led by Jarvis Rush with 53, Ty Warren with 48. I thought Ty Warren had some nice receptions.
Yeah, it was good to see, Ty still having some finger issues from last year, but, man, just to see him run across the middle and catch a couple of those passes and have guys hanging off him shows his screen and Coach Gann in that weight room. But we expect really good things out of him. And so to see him grow up in that environment was really good. The drops was down by a whole half, which is good from the week previous. So I think if we continue to do that, continue to grow and get better, and guys, trust the system, then, hey, we're going to like where this thing end up.
Tyler Macon, 2 receptions for 17 yards, and he went out with an injury. I know some people were asking me about it. When I ask you about it, what is his status?
Yeah, he didn't do anything Sunday. He had banged his ankle up, so we'll see what the week looked like. You see, we put him at quarterback for some things. He just couldn't do it. But we definitely, like we talked about this, this camp, we got some packages and things for him. And I owe it, to him. The coaches owe it to him. We're going to put that ball in his hand and let him be dynamic for us. And so we'll see in the morning what it looked like. And hopefully he get a chance to get on that stage, on Saturday, because it's going to be a lot of scouts there. And we want to give our guys opportunity to, showcase that in front of the NFL guys.
Well, between Amarian Blakes, Damian Jones, Jacoby Matthews, and Sandifer, that's 3, 5, 6, 7 receptions for a total of 20 yards. And I know Damian Jones had some big plays against Northwestern State. He was open a couple of times in the game on Saturday. I know they were trying to get to those guys, just tough sledding.
Yeah, and then Damian took the big head shot, coming across the middle on the target, and then Diablo kind of had a turf toe. And so those guys, I think they just kind of bracketed him and took some things away from him, from the previous week. And one thing about the system, it's system friendly. The ball gonna go to whoever's open, and what the defense designed. And so I thought Jalen did a really good job of getting it to the guys who was open on that concept.
So from the offensive side of things, punting, we only punted 3 times. Duval, 3 punts, averaged 46 yards per punt. There wasn't a lot of punts. Actually, Robert Cole of A&M had 5, so we did a good job in keeping the punter off the field, which is good. How would you evaluate that?
Yeah, I think the kid can average 50. You can see him out there, got a strong leg, got a lot of hang time. When that snap gets back to him consistently, and shout out to the long snapper. He did a really good job, coming off the week before. Even when they try to pressure him, he did an amazing job. And so, I always tell him in practice, just let it rip. Don't let it, don't let the outside things get to you. And he did an amazing job. So we're excited about the operation and Coach Fosserman and how he got his group getting better.
Brandon Wilcox, 1 of 2, as we talked about. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball, Coach. The 2 players, double-digit in tackles. Defensively, though, overall, getting to the quarterback, coach, haven't been able to do that the first couple of games. Is that a concern?
Yeah, it is. We definitely missing 44, but we got to change some guys up, and the staff. Coach Rowe did that. You'll see some guys in some different spots. We got to get fast on the edge. Now, they did do some 8-man pass pro, where it's just hard to get to them, but we missed way too many tackles. But we got to get faster guys on the edge to make sure in this league everything is fast. The quarterback's athletic, so we got to make sure that we got guys on the edge to get up the field and put pressure on the quarterback. And so we didn't do it, and we'll definitely have to make some personnel changes to be able to do it. I thought the inside guys played well. No really big run games beside the quarterbacks on the scramble, but no just handoff type run games. And so we got to clean up the leaky yardage and cut down on the missed tackles.
Well, leading the way in tackles is B. Hinton with 11 and Stamarian Edwards with 10. Jaquez Dews with 8 and Roberts with 7. Just overall, despite what we gave up, just talk a little about just the defensive situation. Those guys are leaders. And they had way too many missed tackles. And they know it. They the first one to come in the building and say, "Coach, I got to get it to the turf." And so we can coach them hard. They've been with us. They understand the culture. And so anytime your leader understands that, then it's always a plus. And so we just got to do a good job going back to the basics. We can't just take kill shots, especially on that turf, and trying to move around. We just got to come under control. We got to get them guys to the turf and just do a better job. And in the secondary, we got to do a better job of cleaning up the explosives. I didn't think we competed at a high level like we should have, just from a back end standpoint. All right, we'll take a timeout here. We'll get to your questions, comments, texts, tweets, and we'll look ahead to Mississippi State. All that coming up. We'll also talk about the new rule that was passed this past Friday about the transfer portal, one window. That's coming up. There still has to be voted on, but it looks like it'll be a done deal. We'll talk all about that, get Coach Thomas's thoughts on that, and look ahead to the Bulldogs. We'll be right back after this on the Braves Sports Network.
2 hours ago.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
You don't fight fair, so we'll just fight harder.
We didn't come here to play around.
You're going down.
Honestly, I hate you.
I'm stronger than you.
I'm more determined than you.
We're going to beat you, cancer.
Because the American Cancer Society
is on our team.
And together, we're unstoppable.
My name is John Calipari.
I'm Roy Williams.
I'm Jim Boeheim.
I'm Tubby Smith. And I'm a coach versus cancer.
All right, we welcome you back to the Cedric Thomas program, 601-301-2611. All right, Coach Thomas, some texts have come in. You talked about the offense and, of course, 31 points. Question, do you feel like any changes need to be made on offense to be more consistent? You happy with where things are? Tweak here, tweak there, overhaul here, overhaul there? How are you looking at it?
Yeah, that's a good question. We constantly, we got so many new people over there. We constantly tweaking and moving things around. I think, just for example, we got some extra linemen, to play, from all the penalties and some things. And Coach Watson did a good job of sparing some of those guys. A lot of that just came from being tired in the old school rubric. Back in the day was just 5 linemen just played. And so he played some extra guys. I thought that helped moving some people around. We had Tyron and Jarvis, 2 bigger wideouts on the same side. Had Jarvis and some of the smaller guys on the same side. So we'll constantly, tweak, some things to try to maximize the talent that we have. And so I think those guys, good days are ahead of them, but it starts with work. We just got to continue to work and continue to believe in the coaching and go out and execute at a high level.
Yeah, I was really impressed with how we went back and forth offensively with Alabama A&M. One of the things, though, from a defensive standpoint, it seemed like it was a lot of cushion on those receivers. It seemed like when they caught the ball, it was already 5 yards. They touched it and then just turned it upfield. Talk about the adjustments made there, what happened there, what didn't happen.
Yeah, and it starts with our leader, Kale McLaurin. He gave the touchdown up early and this kid had played a lot of football, Division I transfer, and he just got soft. And I think it was more so that the phrase, like I mentioned earlier, don't want to get beat deep. And I thought they just bled us out with a bunch of paper cuts. It wasn't a home run per se. It was just the 5-yard out to get the first down. The 6-yard out, the 5-yard hitch. Now it's 2nd and 5. And so that first half, we didn't challenge guys. We kind of played, not scared as in, out in a negative connotation, but high anxiety, high stressors, and we didn't want to challenge them. And so that second half, we made some personnel changes in some spots. But also, we forced those guys to come down and play because we knew we had a chance, the way offense had a gen. And so we can't play scared. We all back in guys, me and Coach Taylor and even Coach McCullough. We got to, them guys work hard. We go against a really good wide-eye crew. And so we got to make sure we get in there and mix it up and not just let guys throw the ball, all over the place on us.
Well, that was one of the questions that was tweeted in. And another one is, how do we create more pressure on the quarterback without having to blitz a lot?
Yeah, we're gonna move Eric Thomas, to the bandit. We're gonna put him at the end, and put Tobias at the other end, and get more speed. There. We got a couple guys that we're gonna just put out there, and then we're gonna bring the youngster up. The Natchez, Jaquel. He's the phenom. We're gonna let him get some work on some of the pass rushing stuff just from a personnel standpoint. So these coaches are making the necessary adjustments to be able to do that, and so we got to do it. We know 44 ain't here, but we got some guys that may not get 9 in a whole year, but we can get some 3s here, 4s here. But we got to speed that clock up for these quarterbacks in this league.
Another question, and this is what I was thinking about this too, Coach. The defense played well in the Northwestern State game, and then the offense got it going the other night. Consistency. How do we get consistency on both sides of the ball as conference play? I mean, even though we played, by the way, the game the other night against Alabama A&M did not count in the 8 conference games. So we're 0-0 in conference. I know Southern the last couple of weeks has played Mississippi Valley and Alabama State. Those 2 games don't count. Good that we're playing, these other conference opponents that do not count. Just to play SWAC opponents, that's good. But just consistency on both sides of the ball, Coach. We after Mississippi State a bye week, and then the rest of the conference games do count.
Yeah, so that's ultimately what we searching for, and so we just got to go out and do what we coach to do. Defensively, that thing really hurt us. Because we're defensive guys, and our guys just didn't compete. We didn't compete like at a high level like we did the week before, and so we got to clean it up. Whether it's personnel, it wasn't the system or the scheme. We knew what the game plan was going to be, but we got to get guys to go out and execute not only from a efficiency standpoint, but we got to. If we're going to press man and we're going to win in our one-on-ones, we got to win on our one-on-ones. But we definitely can't be 7 or 8 yards off uncovered number 2s and 3s, and they just ran up throwing sight throws and being able to keep the chains moving. And that's where a lot of those 8 for 15 on third downs come from. It's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and they running out cuts and they slam, in breaking routes. And that's just making the chains move. And so we got to get down and we got to compete with guys. We work it. We do one-on-ones, every once a week. And so we just got to can't be scared. We got to come down and challenge guys, and we scholarship players, they scholarship players, and just use our teaching to be successful.
I was watching College Game Day last Monday night when North Carolina was playing TCU, and Nick Saban said, and you hear people say this, but then when you hear Nick Saban say it, the biggest improvement that you make is from week 1 to week 2. So Cedric Thomas, the biggest improvement that you saw from week 1 at Northwestern to week 2 at Alabama A&M.
The offensive production and also the efficiency. It was a lot of plays that was really executed, and that's all we can ask for. We execute the plays, the talent to take care of itself. So I thought they did that at a high level. From a kicking game standpoint, we snapped, had great operations on the field goal. We had great operation on the punt. Had a really good return average for the kickoff return, minus the 1 fumble, and that 1 fumble caused us 7 points. So that's the inconsistency that we got to do, and the guys know we can't keep you out there if you're going to continue to do that. We saw that last year, and so we want to clean that up. And then defensively, we just didn't challenge guys. So we got to put guys out there that's going to challenge in the man world, and we also got to put guys on the edges that's going to sack the quarterback. And so I think if we do that, and those guys, they work their tails off. And if we get that formula down together, you'll see a polished football team, and I'm excited about that journey going with these guys to be able to see that, because we got a really good football team. Just got to put it all together like everybody's saying.
It's early, and I know fandom with every win, every loss, it's always anxiety. It's just 2 games. It is early and a lot of football in front of us, so there's still time to make the corrections and adjustments. Everything's still in front of us. The division, the SWAC, celebration, all that's still right there in front of us. Just a matter of continuing to work at it.
Yeah, and the Texans and the writers, they write. Those are really good questions. We want the consistency. Those guys work their tails off, doing it day in and day out. And so we just can't at 6 o'clock in front of a whole lot of people just short wire and not do what we coach to do. I can take a loss, if we go out there and the team better. But I don't think personnel, either one of those teams was better. But talent hard work beat talent when talent don't work. And we didn't execute at a high level. And so we got to clean that up to be a consistent ball club. And I think if we do that, we'll be right where we need to be down the stretch. But there's a lot of work that we got to put in. And I'm excited about the guys because the work hadn't been the issue. It's taking the game plan and then executing it on Thursday and Saturday night for the last 2 weeks.
And that's a really good point as you get ready for Mississippi State. Coach, let's talk about some news on the front of the NCAA. There was rules came out about the transfer portal. Want to get your thoughts about that. Most likely there will be one transfer window. It's got to be approved. Transfer portal window open. That will be in January. What are your thoughts on that? Does that impact us positively, negatively, or doesn't really matter?
I think it affects everybody, in a positive light, because what it does is secure, a foundation of players in the spring and more of what you're dealing with, because, it's free agency, from one component being able to transfer at one time, but you could actually go through the spring with not enough players because you got 3 times to get in the transfer portal on the old regime and the old model. But I think this gonna kind of clean up and give not only the fans but also coaches opportunity to set rosters and not have a major turnover. And now you're starting to hear some of the NIL backings, because this is coming from private funding. There's paying these kids, and they screaming, I don't know how long I can keep this up. You got an 18, 19, 20-year-old making 4, 3, 1 point something, 500,000. That's got to last if he stay in college 3-4 years. And some of those guys are now coming out saying, hey, we might need to rethink this because this gonna be affecting my bottom line, whether whatever entity from a professionalism standpoint, going into their pocket. So I think some things gonna change here, not too long.
Yeah, the NCAA Football Oversight Committee voted to support a single transfer portal window in January. The administrative committee still needs to formally adopt the change later, but the 10-day window is expected to open January 2nd. What does the January 2nd date mean?
Now you get to, last year you saw the guys, you had guys that would actually transferring before bowl games or doing bowl games. So now what that does is just, kind of close that off to where, hey, you got an opportunity, because January the 2nd is when, they had a national championship game. That'll be the last one. And so it won't be an influx of moving prior till. And so guys got to just kind of stay there, not really worry about tampering and all that. But then you can make your move, once that national championship, game over. Because now, this time last year you had guys going into the championship game that was in the portal. And, that's a distraction. You got to take care of guys that's on your roster, but guys that's leaving and don't play in the game, and you find out, a day or so prior to. And so I think that's just a really good move by the NCAA to just kind of clean things up, but also from a coaching standpoint, just give you some continuity with your roster, be able to allow the guys to go that want to, venture off, but also keep a core, group going forward.
All right, Coach, let's look at Mississippi State, Coach. It's going to be interesting going up to Stark Vegas. Mississippi State beat USM 34-17. Come from behind win over Arizona State 24-20. Fans were celebrating, storming the field, taking the goalpost down, taking it out of the stadium. Nationally ranked game, nationally ranked win. So when you look at Coach Jeff Libby's ball club, just like yourself in the second season, high octane offense. That's what I get there. One of the top offensive minds in the country at UCF, Oklahoma, Ole Miss. What do you see in this Mississippi State team?
A really good football team. By far the best team we'll see, on our roster. They're so much better. You starting to see, the Mississippi States of old. My best friend played there, Rod Gibson. He's actually in recruiting. And I just texted him and talked to him last night about just looking at that culture, growing up when he played. It looks like that. They're gonna run the football with multiple backs. They're gonna take shots. With speed. That's out there on the edge, and they got some guys that look like some of those guys are old, and so we got our hands full. With that roster, and just being sound. But I'm excited. Like I told the coaches and the guys. Not only do we get a chance to put a product out there that all the coaches in the SEC gonna see, but our players that got opportunity from an NFL standpoint, they get a chance to put that on display. And last year this time we was going to Vanderbilt UAB saying snap it with 1 second on the clock and let's get out of Dodge. And so this year it'll be complete opposite. We're gonna go to play. We're gonna go to score and see good products on both all three phases. And so we feel like we got some guys that can go out there and have an opportunity to be seen. And this will be our last really big litmus to be able to see as we can get to this consistency point. What a better opportunity to do it against one of the better teams, but also in a great conference.
Well, when you look at their quarterback, Blake Shapen, 19 of 33, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns against Arizona State. Of the 279 that he's got passing, 241 of those yards are by Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans III. So he's there too. Those two are his primary targets.
That's 0 and 8, boy. I'm telling you. You probably see us at the stadium trying to guard them guys, man. 0 so fast. I mean, he made a catch over his arm, over his shoulder, on film. They called it back, but when I talked to my partner, he said, man, Coach, he do that every day in practice. And so we got to be aware where he is. They do an amazing job of moving him to try to keep you from doubling. And so we got to have some plans, to make sure those guys are at least we on top of and bracketing and doing things like that. But those two guys are very elite athletes.
Defensively, they gave up 251 yards rushing last week. What do you see in that? 4.9 yards per carry. We can maybe exploit that?
They big up front. So we got to do some things to try to get around the edge and create some creases, by separating those guys, whether opening up splits or, tighten things down. But we got some game plans. I'm about to head back over now to kind of see what those guys got in there cooking. But it's definitely going to be, something to try to give us some advantage to win. This won't be one where we'll just hold it. We're going to go play. I think the second year, our roster, built as such, and just don't want to come out too banged up. But, what God got for us, he got for us. We definitely going down to play football.
What are your thoughts on, and this has been talked about last week, Jackson State played USM. They hung tough there, playing games in state. LSU's played Southern and Grambling. What are your thoughts on these in-state games? We're going to play Ole Miss in the next few years. I think USM next year. Got Mississippi State this year. What are your thoughts of these playing up in these in-state games?
Yeah, I'd rather circulate all three of those, every year. One to keep the capital and the funding, in-state, and for us the travel aspect. But also, some of those, PWIs really don't get that HBCU experience, so they're excited about seeing the band and seeing all the festivities that come along, with the HBCU culture. So I think it's a gain, and it bridged the gap. Yeah, we're going to talk noise, but it also bridged the gap from a camaraderie, just going and just to see Jackson and Southern Miss band get together and do the deal at halftime. I thought that was awesome, and so I think it's more helpful than it is harmful. Just staying in state, and then just keeping the revenue stream as such, but also the travel. Our fans can really get to see us, but also our players get opportunity to be in that environment, but also get a chance to play with it's going to be 8-9 scouts at that football game, and so they get a chance to put their talent on display. And so I think it's a win for everybody.
What came out in the last couple of days, I think North Carolina A&T's coach, they played up and they lost 3 quarterbacks, and now he's saying that what are we doing here? I mean, we know the guarantee game, the money and all that comes with it, but then you get beat up at the same time, and now the talk amongst HBCUs playing up, the danger, you get the check, but then you get beat up. What are your thoughts on that balance? It's kind of what you have to do. You want to come out of it as healthy as possible. Southern University is playing Fresno State on Saturday as well, and they lost the other night. So what are your thoughts on just that whole dynamic?
I think it's got to be the right fit. Some of the guys just don't, not as physical as others. Mr. Charles, I don't want that Ohio State. I don't want that. I don't want Alabama. I don't want Georgia. But at Texas Tech, if the money right, they're going to throw it around. It's kind of air raid-ish. That's a really good team. Teams like that, I feel like, be conducive to, us. But in one light, we can't say, we believe in some and have faith and then, be scared, to put them out there. I think it's just that's one of the deals that we just got to be mindful of. But I think it's a place in it based on that particular institution. And so for us, I feel like if we can get in and use it as a really good litmus for us. I understand if we taking a pound, and it's my job as a coach to protect my players. And if we got to go back to snapping it 1 second, then we'll do it to protect them. And so I think we just got to be mindful of that. But I think it's a place for it. We just got to find the right teams, right conference that kind of fit our kids' skill set, and also the travel and everything that's associated with it.
Final question, Coach. I know Braves fans are concerned. We came close last week. What would you say to Braves fans going into Mississippi State, going forward? We got a bye week after this week, and then UAPB in Memphis, then Prairie View at home. What would you say to Braves fans? We're 0-2. I know a lot of folks didn't expect that. What would you say 2 games in to Braves fans that may be a little anxious and concerned?
You just continue to support. Continue to support. Faith without work, isn't anything. And so we doing both of that. We believe, and those guys believe, and then they working their tails off. So just continue to support these young brothers. It was good to see, to show up in Huntsville, and it's improvement. On the consistency, we'll be there. Just some things we getting the kinks ironed out right now. But more so than anything, just support them because they could be doing a whole lot of negative things or things that's not associated with just playing football. So just to support in general in today's landscape means everything. And we'll put a product out there that you'll definitely be proud of going forward.
Coach, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week after Mississippi State.
Appreciate it, Mr. Charles.
Braves and Mississippi State in Stark Vegas, 5 o'clock. And we'll talk with Mississippi State's radio guy coming up, Neil Price, on the pregame show from Starkville. Will be on the air at 4:30. For our producers, Jamario Brooks, Cedric Tillman, Charles Edmond, head coach Cedric Thomas on the Cedric Thomas Show. We'll talk to you next week following Mississippi State. Get ready for the bye. Speaking of bye, bye-bye. We'll talk to you later.